under the not under the lights, but first game at White Hart Lane at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for Thomas Frank. We've seen how we've conducted our pre-season so far. We've had really strong opposition over the past few games with Bayern Munich, PSG, Arsenal, Newcastle. This game is gonna, be very different for Thomas Frank and for this Tottenham side. And without Savinho or Eze in yet, I think, our attacking options aren't looking too great at this moment in time. We don't know if Solanke's going to be fit enough to play. Richarlison obviously had a really good game in the Super Cup on Wednesday night. But we're going to have to see a different Tottenham side in this game. If we're going to want to win the game, we're going to have the majority of the possession. And Burnley are going to say, look, you've got to come and break us down. And we know that they've got a very strong defence.
Absolutely. And they showed last season. Again, I know it was in the Championship, but this is a team that conceded 16 goals. That's a ridiculous amount. 16 goals in 44 games in the Championship. That's insane. That's unheard of. That must be a record, surely. I don't know, but it must be a record. 29 clean sheets last season. This is a very defensively solid team. That's going to make it very hard for us to break them down, especially with our lack of flair and creativity in the forward line without the signings that we hope to make through the door at this moment in time. So coming into this game, you look at the pre-season games we have had, they've all been very different kind of games. I know we did play some League One opposition earlier on. I did feel like watching those games, those were more for fitness building rather than tactical setups and things like that. The games against Reading, Luton, Wickham, those three games, I think you saw more kind of different stuff happening in the later games, but those were games against opposition where you expect Tottenham to sit back a bit or to be defending a lot more and catching teams on the counter and basically being off the ball for a lot of the game. Now this is going to be a very different task. It's going to be a very different challenge. So how we adapt to that, what you would say is in those games against League One opposition, as much as it probably was about building fitness, we still weren't really able to create too many chances and we didn't look creative in open play. Again, even against Reading, we won 2-0, both goals come from set pieces. I was just, again, reading Jed Spence. He'd done an interview with Ali Gold, not necessarily about his contract, but, just in general. And he was saying, he was asked about Thomas Frank's approach, and he said the big focus in pre-season is about getting clean sheets and keeping clean sheets. And, the more you win clean sheets, the more chance it gives you to win games and stuff like that, which is obviously the complete opposite approach of Ange, who said he doesn't lose sleep over clean sheets, didn't he? So very different. Whether Frank is trying to drill that into the team because of just how far away we are from that of keeping clean sheets, or is that his philosophy? Because he didn't seem that interested about keeping clean sheets to Brentford last season, to be honest. I have to, only time will tell what exactly the meaning behind that is. But I think at the moment, for sure you need to focus on getting clean sheets because that wasn't the focus at all. But in these kind of games, it's all about breaking down the opposition. It's all about when you have the ball, what can you do with it? Can you get passing moves together? Can you create chaos? Can you create enough chances? Now, in this kind of game, we might get away with being able to maybe some set pieces. We've shown in pre-season we're a different level when it comes to set pieces at the moment. We're showing different routines and, we're being very creative. I think that's fair to say. And we scored another 2 goals from set pieces against PSG. And we've been against Arsenal, causing loads of problems with set pieces. So would that be enough in this game? Keep a clean sheet and score from a set piece or two and see the game out while we wait for Eze and Savinho to join the team and add that creativity. That's kind of how I see it. But it's going to be very interesting to see if we can maybe break them down more than we expect.
Yeah, and I think the likes of Mohamed Kudus are going to be so vital in this game because he's got that X factor. He's going to command so many players and so many Burnley players that are going to be on him from the second he gets the ball, and it's going to be his physicality and his creative nous to get himself out of these situations. But he's going to need support because we've seen so many times in these Spurs games where Kudus is just trying to do so much stuff on his own without too much support.
Isolated.
Yeah, completely isolated. But I feel like, hopefully, in my opinion, I want to see Wilson Odobert start on the left-hand side against his old club. And I think if we can have that dual threat of players that can break down low blocks like an Odobert and Kudus on either side, I think it should create a bit of space for us.
Yeah, 100%. And even against Luton, Like Kudus was completely isolated on the right wing, and that should never be these kind of games. That should never be happening. We need to be getting players around him so that he has players to play off, and he doesn't feel like when he gets the ball he has to beat 3 players to create anything. And that that shouldn't be the case. That's what the problem kind of was at West Ham a lot of the time. So 100%, I think he's key. I think one thing that I think to consider in this game potentially would be Solanke and Richarlison together.
What in what 4-4-2 or
like 4-4-2 or I guess 4-4-2 or like maybe Solanke a bit deeper or something I guess 4-4-2 in general with one maybe off the ball one of them dropping a bit deeper when we're pressing and stuff like that. Or to be fair, we press in a 4-4-2 anyway. So is that one way we can combat the lack of creativity? Is just basically get them both in the box, get Porro on the ball and spam some crosses in.
So when we're saying a 4-4-2, you're saying those players up front. What, like Paulini Sarr, Bentancur Sarr,
something like
that in the middle, with Kudus Odebear on the wings.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
I wouldn't be against it. I think that would be quite. First of all, we'll throw a curveball to Burnley and probably the plans that Scott Parker has been going through on the training ground all week. And second of all, it just gives us more men in the box. I think that would be a decent way to go about it. I do think he's probably going to go 4-2-3-1. Which we'll get into the predicted lineup in a minute. But
I'm trying to think, but like he would, but like what? We're going to play Sarr in the 10 in this game?
Yeah.
What's the point? I don't see the need unless he's going to be really more attacking. I know he did score a brace against Wickham.
Could he go Odebear on the right, Tell on the left, and Kudus in through the middle?
Yeah, he could. He was asked about Kudus in the 10.
I wouldn't be against that in a 4-2-3-1. Odebear on the right and Tell on the left, and Kudus through the middle.
Odebear on the right. Who on the left? Tell on the left. I think if he does Kudus in the middle, probably Johnson comes in. I assume that's what I'd assume happens.
Yeah, I just think in this kind of game, Johnson's just going to get lost.
Yeah,
that's why I'd prefer Tell and Odebear on the wings.
I agree. Yeah, I would like to see them as well. But I think Solanke and Richarlison together could provide a good solution there. But you got a lot of presence in the box, a lot of aerial ability. Obviously, we did something similar, didn't we? It was kind of like Richarlison off the left, but I remember against Bodo, Ange had that plan, didn't he? And it kind of worked really well. Obviously, we're in a different phase at the moment, but I think in this kind of game, just while we don't have that creative options, like where we're really going to pick the lock, I think having 2 really good players in the air in that box, especially from set pieces as well, could really prove dividends. The only problem is if it's not working, you don't really have. How do you really change it? That's the issue. I guess you can bring Johnson on, but you don't have another aerial kind of monster to bring to come on. So that's a bit of an issue.
Reality is right. Like we're playing Burnley at home, and no disrespect to Burnley, but they're a team that have just got promoted. And yes, they've had an unbelievable season last year. But whatever lineup that we put out should be more than good enough to go and win this game.
Of course.
And it should be more than good enough to break down this Burnley side. And I know they've got a very good defence and a good structural defensive setup under Scott Parker. But we shouldn't be worried going into this game. We shouldn't be talking about like, oh, we're going to struggle to break Burnley down. I know that's been the reality.
Well, we will. I think we will.
I know it's the reality so far in pre-season, but they shouldn't. Like the players that we've got, the attacking players that we've got, I don't think they're like relegation level. They're like mid-table, probably somewhere in the Premier League, which should be way more than good enough than just relying on set pieces in a game like this.
Wait, sorry, we shouldn't be relying on set pieces? Or?
No, I'm saying the players that we have are more than good enough not to just be relying on set pieces into this game.
I agree, but it's just how we're setting up. I think at the moment, Frank also admitted this in his press conference, that that's the element we're struggling with and we haven't quite got going, that fluidity in the front line, that ability to open teams up, create chances. And I think that isn't just going to go away tomorrow, in my opinion. I think the only way we score goals, this is my prediction, but the only way we score goals is either forcing a mistake from a high press or a set piece. I don't think in settled possession we're gonna cause too many problems. We might get a bit of luck, maybe a shot deflects in, or maybe we put in a cross and there's a second balls and it falls to someone and we put it in. I don't see Tottenham playing lovely football and opening them up. I just don't really see it just right now. I think the players is one issue, but I also think that is just something we haven't got to grips with yet with what Frank wants. At the moment, maybe it clicks tomorrow and I look like a mug, but I think, hopefully as well. But just judging from what I've seen, I've got no worries about winning the game. I just think it's going to be a struggle to. It's not going to be an easy. I don't see it being an easy watch tomorrow.
It's kind of like one of those games. Like the longer it stays at 0-0,
Yeah.
the more worrying it's going to get. And I feel like straight from the off, Spurs need to start this game with a really aggressive tone, a high tempo, and just go for them. Just go for them from the off. And if we can force an early goal, then that should make the job a lot easier for us.
Yeah, that's going to be big. I think first 10 minutes, go at them, really press them high. Again, it should be a bit of like welcome to the Premier League kind of thing. You know, put in a few strong challenges. Where if they're trying to build up, you know, really try and press them into oblivion, which is where, you know, if you are going to play Salah in the 10, that's where he would come into effect, that real pressing. So I think that's what you got to do. Try and force an early goal, try and get them to open up a bit, and all of a sudden it's a different game. But I really hope tomorrow, if it does go 0-0, or I don't know, we can see the sloppy goal, we go 1-0 down, and the game requires a bit of patience. I really hope that the crowd don't start getting on the back of the players, and we start hearing murmurs and all that kind of stuff, because that all of a sudden, you know, that gets in the players' heads, and all of a sudden they start rushing things, and that's when things can start to really go wrong. So I hope the crowd are patient. You know, Frank says the team might have to be patient tomorrow. That's what you're saying in his press conference, and I think that's right. And I think it's not going to be an easy game. I really don't, unless, as you say, we force a mistake early on, the game opens up, and all of a sudden the players that we want to have space will get a bit of space, and that it can become a different game. But I do think if we don't, you know, make pay of some early chances, and we allow Burnley to settle in the game, and we allow them to get into their structured kind of defensive setup, and it's difficult for us to break them down, I do think the goals will come. We'll get something from a set piece. We'll get something. We just have to remain patient.
Yeah, they've done some decent business. I mean, Kyle Walker, major coup for Burnley coming in this summer. He's going to be their captain. I mean, I assume he's going to be one of their leaders anyway if he doesn't have the armband. But at right back for them, that's a major bit of business for them, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good. Obviously, look, he isn't what he was. And I think you could even see, well, it wasn't even that long ago he was playing for England in the Euros, wasn't he? Did he start the final, the Euros final, when we lost to
I mean, he was still
Spain?
Getting call-ups when he was at Milan.
Yeah, he still was. But look, I think he's clearly beyond his best. But I think that kind of experience will be very helpful for a team like Burnley. And I know he's not as fast as he was, but he's probably still faster than most of the other Burnley defenders. But I think that experience will be brilliant for them.
Yeah, not only him, but I really like, I know it's not a new signing, but Esteve at the back. Spurs have been linked with him a number of times. And they've brought in Martin Dubravka from Newcastle. Is he going to be starting for them? And if he is, I don't like to see Dubravka in goal against us. Man,
Seems to always have a great game, doesn't he? Always seems to kill it against Tottenham for some one reason or another. Just has a great game. But I think he probably will start.
Yeah,
I think he'll play. He will start. Well, it depends. Does Parker rely on that defence that was so good last season, or does he keep it the same?
They had Trafford in goal last season. Right?
They had Trafford, which he's now signed for City, and he's going to be second to Donnarumma probably in a moment. So I don't know why he's made that move, but. You're right. They're going to have to make a few changes anyway, but it's going to be interesting to see what Parker does early on. Does he do the tried and tested last season, trust in the defence that kept 29 clean sheets, or does he go, all right, Walker, you're straight in, because he's a new signing?
Yeah, I think he'll go straight in, to be fair. If you look at the head-to-head between Spurs and Burnley, obviously last time in the Premier League we played them 3 times, once in the Cup with that unbelievable Pedro Porro goal. The 5-2 obviously in the first 10 games under Ange, where we blitzed them. Manuel Solomon had a top performance on the left wing that day. Sonny scoring a hat-trick. And then towards the end of the season, a 2-1 win at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But, I mean, this is going to be such a different game to those kind of games, because, like, Burnley were just... I mean, I guess the 1-0 in the Cup was a kind of very tight game, wasn't it? I mean, when I say it's going to be a different game, it's definitely going to be a different game to the 5-2, when just Burnley were just so open that day.
Yeah, it's going to be more like playing Sean Dyche's Burnley than it is Vincent Kompany's. I'm pretty certain about that. Obviously, that loss you saw, that was a famous one where Conte had one of his famous flip outs, and we went on to beat City, I think, the next game anyway. But that was a famous one where he said, "I'm going to leave. I'm going with this club. Maybe I'm not good enough." All that kind of stuff. Classic Conte. Only a loss to Burnley can do that. Look. there's nothing to really be gained with the head-to-heads. They're a very different team to when we last played them. But I think, I don't know what you can really learn from the head-to-head. To be honest.
Not much. The only thing you can learn is that it's going to be very different this time round.
And we're different as well. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So both teams are different.
I do want to say that, Frank, at the start of his Brentford career, the start of his Bromby career, had obviously bad starts. I think they didn't win in their first 6 games. Now, I do fully expect Spurs to win tomorrow. However, if we don't win and we do have a bit of a poor start to the season, I think the fans just need to make sure to remain calm and to remain patient. So I do think Frank will get it right in the end. But if he doesn't have like a start like Ange Postecoglou had, I think people are always going to automatically start drawing comparisons and stuff like that. Like, it might take a bit of patience, this, right from the start.
Yeah, of course. I agree with that. And that any new manager embarking on new projects and stuff, it's not all... Look, it can hit the ground running, but it won't necessarily hit the ground running. I would say when you're comparing the jobs at Tottenham to to Brentford and Bromby, obviously it's a completely different kettle of fish, and he's working obviously in those clubs on a complete shoestring budget, and the way of working, the quality of player, all that kind of stuff is night and day to what he's got at Tottenham. So I think if you ask Frank, I don't think he would be wanting a slow start. I think he knows it's possible, but I don't think he's going to be going into, okay, we're not going to win for like the first 5 games. I don't think that's what he expects or wants. But look, it can happen, and I think that's going to be a process. I think sometimes when you've got a new set of players, he's still figuring out what works, what doesn't work, especially in these kind of games.
There's still so much more business to do. Like this is reality as well when you go into the season underprepared, and we have gone into this season underprepared.
Yeah, right now we got a lot of business still to do. Well, we're not the only ones, but yeah, we have a lot of business still to do. That essential business, like creativity, adding creativity to the team and all that kind of stuff. So, 100%. I think fans have a bit of a right to be frustrated with the fact that, yet again, we're first game of the season and there's still so much to do, ins and outs, and we haven't got the business done early.
We haven't got anyone out, have we? The only sell that we've made is Sonny.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think at hand at the moment, I know obviously Basuma's likely to leave, but there's no one's really linked with him. And Richarlison, I don't know if he's leaving at the moment. He looks like he's staying. So I don't know who else is actually leaving. Yeah. Like, you got Solomon, Vuskovic going to go out on loan, but you got to make space for these guys coming in, and I don't know how you do that unless also Richarlison is leaving. But it seems a great performance. Frank was talking very highly of him in the press conference. So is that one that is going to happen or not? At the moment, I would say he's probably closer to staying.
Yeah. Look, we'll have to wait and see what happens. But yeah,
I think he starts probably tomorrow.
Probably, yeah. Half a month to go. Until the end of the transfer window. Obviously, there's talk of Eze and Savinho. Let's hope they can get over the line. And I think once we get these 2 players over the line and they get integrated, you'll see a lot more exciting attack from Tottenham, and the ability to break teams down and have that kind of fluidity up top will just go up leaps and bounds. But for this game, we don't have them. It might be a bit of a hard watch a little bit this weekend, but I have no doubt that Spurs can get over the line and get the 3 points against this promoted Burnley side. Scott Parker's got them set up unbelievably well. We'll have to wait and see how that translates from the Championship to the Premier League, because it's a massive, massive step up. And Spurs need to take advantage of that. We need to stamp our authority with being the stronger team by some distance, and let's hope that they can put on a show at the Tottenham Stadium tomorrow. We'll be here on the watch-along, and very much looking forward to it. The Thomas Frank era is up and running already, obviously, with the Super Cup, but now the Premier League is about to get underway, and I cannot wait. Hopefully not too many downs, but I'm sure there's going to be lots of ups and downs throughout the